Thank you for giving me the space. I don't think I've told anybody all of those things and then have it received so well. I'm not crazy. um, yeah, it's really, I don't know, enlightening. It makes me really want to, I don't know, say hello to a lot more bugs, and you really start to, yeah, pay attention to the small things. It's not nothing anymore. I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yes, and many children see them too. About 75% of the world's children today are being born with etheric vision. And when your children talk with people and have daydream playmates, the chances are they are actually speaking to some of these people. Because these angels or angelic forces or nature spirits, as they're often called, will often make themselves seen.
And all of a sudden I hear him go, whoa, or, something like that. So I look up. And as I look up, I see this thing.
And I said, I've never seen a butterfly like you before.
I know that the paranormal is real. Listen.
As soon as I spoke to it, it turns around and makes eye contact with me. And then it stands upright.
And it was at that moment that I saw it was like an orange light appear above this row of trees. And from this sort of orange light, this thing appeared. Its wings were actually like sycamore leaf shaped.
And I started talking to them. I'm like, hi, are y'all the dwarves? And I would hear whispers that would say, hi, yeah, you want to play? And it wasn't just my imagination. And I had told them, I'm like, my dwarves, they like beer, And my dad's like, yeah, sure, your dwarves like beer. And they were holding a conversation, and his beer slid upwards instead of downwards, how the house was tilted. And him and my brothers jumped up.
So I stopped calling out Adam, and I'm just kind of, my mind draws a blank, and I stop behind that tree stump. I'm pretty close to it now because I took a few steps forward, and I see this thing.
Welcome everybody tonight to Fascinating Fae. Tonight, we're traveling to Australia yet again to talk, this time, with Becky B. So Becky, how are things in Australia today?
Things are really good. It's beautiful outside. Spring's here. Yeah, great day. Great weekend.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that. As we go into fall over here, I'm certainly enjoying these halcyon days of summer where it's kind of like hot, but then gets cold at night. Foreshadowing the coming fall. But weather aside, one of my favorite jokes I'll make just briefly here, every podcast ever starts talking about the weather. But it's one of those ways to ease into conversations in life. So it is. It's why it happens.
Yeah, and there's something about spring. It's got that I've got that new motivation and something in the air. It's a good time of year.
Well, at Fascinating Fae, there's always something in the air.
That's true.
Anyhow, what I'd like to do with your permission here tonight, Becky, is bringing on the show in more or less the ways that I was thinking about initially, but also motivated a little by what just happened before we did get on the call. Is that cool with you? Can I take a little bit of time on the mic?
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks. I try to keep it short at the beginning and then only talk if I think I've got important questions to ask, and or I'm currently, fascinated enough that I can't shut up about the whole thing. So
That's all right.
pretty much the format of the show. Don't worry too much about anything, because I've approached you here tonight, which is probably the first place I should start for the audience. Is I have reached out to Becky, not the other way around, which is something, you know, I'm learning that I can do more on this show when it comes to following my intuition places. And so the reason I've reached out to you tonight here, Becky, is because I'm really interested in the art that you create. But also, I get sort of a sense from certain people who are, I guess, for lack of a better word, fans of the show, that they're fans for a reason. Like, you know, I like to think that some of the fans of the show are fans of the show because it's like well produced and they can see it's interesting and there's a lot of effort in it, and they might be looking at it externally going like, wow, what are all these kooks talking about? That may be why some people appreciate my show, but I can tell that you're the kind of person who appreciates the show for a different, deeper reason, and I'll ask you about that in part tonight. But before I do, I have to say the following things to make it a proper Fascinating Fae episode start for those potential audience members that are dropping in, of which I'm really happy to say there's more and more all the time coming around this show. Hey, everybody who's new, thanks for being here. Don't be shy saying what you think about the show or all this stuff. You know, some of these episodes only have like 100, 150 listens, even though we've been doing it for 6 or 7 months and it's starting to get incredible. So don't feel shy about contributing what you want to say. I might be able to then connect with you like I'm about to connect here with Becky tonight. But on Fascinating Fae, Becky, as you know, we do not try to convince anyone of anything. Fairies are this mystery wrapped in a mystery, with a mystery on a leash, you know, walking that mystery down a mysterious path. So good luck trying to figure out any of it. And furthermore, you know, for the audience listening, myself, I'm a guy who saw a fairy one time in 2019, couldn't let it go, truly, and then started this podcast because I also couldn't really adequately research contemporary stuff that reflected my experience. And so I thought, well, I'll take to the good old internet and see if other people have also seen and experienced similar things. Since that journey began more than 6 months ago, I have now, to my utter shock, I mean, you know, had what I would consider multiple fairy or fae experiences, and arguably most recently episode 36 and 35, which I've published, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to pick Becky's brain about here in a second, which is part of what I'm gonna hope to talk to you about in addition to your art and other things. Where I'm going with this little intro blurb for everyone listening is, even though I'm here saying we're not here to convince anyone of anything, it's getting pretty goddamn difficult if you've listened to all of Fascinating Fae to ignore the fact that the Fae are here. And I'll just leave it there for you to go figure out and explore for yourself if you're a new listener. But all the same, my journey here of talking to people is not born of anything resembling a gotcha moment. It's not like that. I saw something incredible. I want to hear what other incredible experiences, motivations, feelings, thoughts, intuitions, etc., that other people have on the matter. Both those that reach out to me and those that I identify and reach out to, like Becky here tonight. So, Becky, there's my kind of different-ish intro for tonight's episode, specifically tailored for you.
No, feel special. Thank you so much for reaching out, by the way. That was really cool. I wanted to come on the show and I like the idea of it, but I didn't feel like I had a story that was mind-blowing enough. But after thinking about it, I've got a few things I'd like to tell you. So hopefully I've got enough to contribute to make a really good episode, but we'll see where it goes.
Well, we're off to a good start from my perspective over here, and I'll tell you why, because I've been teasing that there's some stuff that happened that I want to let you in on. Okay, in order for this to make some degree of sense, and actually, by the way, before I do that, I'm thrilled to know that you've got some like stories, because I was prepared just to talk to you about your art, which is incredible, and just your own thoughts and feelings about this show and other stuff in general, like your perspectives on fairies as an Australian and what Australians in general think about the subject, et cetera, et cetera. But lo and behold, you're going to deliver some cool stories. And trust me, Becky, there's never a dull moment over here at Fascinating Fae. So please, make sure you got a keen eye on anything loose around you.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I mean, you might think that those art books are stacked in front of you, but really, I mean, if we've learned anything in the most recent 2 episodes, that might not even be true while you're sitting there. So,
All right, I'm prepared.
Anywho, yeah, you say that, but when it goes down, it gets real fast. But okay, jokes aside, and no mocking or evoking the Fae today, because I've had enough over here, large and in part. I will say before we go any further, I'm really glad that I'm talking to somebody kind of in recent context who listened to those 2 episodes, who doesn't have a direct connection to them, like isn't Emma, isn't Claire, isn't Jem, whatever. Because those people, and myself included, are all kind of involved in that story narrative now and can independently kind of feel it as a group. Like we can each feel the, holy shit, he did move out from Jem's garden, like across the fucking internet, back over to Emma's place, to William, to me, bing bong boom, like a unbelievable, scene in a movie where some hacker is pinging, the signal all over the place to obscure it. He can do that shit like in real time. Liz has got it right. He's taken a while to learn the machine, but he's actually kind of there. So what's happened is that this man, this Grimble Grumble character, in my opinion, and again, I'm just the host of this show, and I'm like, I have no credibility other than the fact that I saw a fairy one time, and I've just been doing this for the best part of this year. But here's what I've noticed is, like, when I started the episode with Emma, the technical difficulties went exactly as follows. She and I were talking, but I could not see her waveform laying down in the recording software, even though it had been laying down up until the point that the call initiated, which makes no sense, but it does if you think about it like this. Grimble Grumble was shutting down the audio. And he was doing it so that I, A, had to reboot, B, had to go into conversation with Emma about the weird technical stuff that happens on my computer, ultimately leading me to talk about those screenshots that also, have their own weird stuff going on. And there was actually a 3-fold repetition of 156 in that whole sequence of stuff, all of which I've realized later spells Fae, because it's the letters that correspond to the words A, E, and F, which if you rearrange them.
Oh, shit.
Right?
It does too.
It sure fucking does. I know.
Crazy, because I was trying to work out what those numbers meant, because I'm like, there's something obviously about that, but I thought maybe it was just a.
Well, I said, I'm getting really bad goosebumps right now. I said it in the episode. I'm like, it's A-E-F. I don't know if that spells someone's name. And I just, and I carry on. And then as I listened to that back editing, I was like, I'm stupid. It's obviously Fae.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps from that. That's crazy.
Oh, me too. I almost just jumped off the bed here. Woo, those are the little lightning bolt ones. Fuck, man. Sometimes they're weird, like little jabs in your ribs almost. Truly.
Yeah.
So, okay, so, this is good because when I start to talk about this stuff, A, I need to be in friendly company. So, Becky, thanks a lot.
No problem.
B, I need somewhere to do this too, right? I'm hosting the show to bring people on to talk about their experiences, but if everyone would allow me, I am just a person, and I am having these things happen like on nonstop, repeat, and in escalation. So sometimes I'm just going to reach out to someone I think is locked into this subject matter that can either hold me in space so that I can get this out of my head in a way that feels like authentic, fresh, new. I don't know you. Let me just tell you, a stranger, what's going on. That's what I'm trying to offer people. So I'm just cashing in my check, that I've got in reserve in the bank to do that myself from time to time as I unfold on this. So Becky, thanks for the free therapy.
Yeah, no problem. Safe space.
Anyhow, so 156 spells Fae, but the trajectory that I was describing is important, so I'll just quickly get back there. I have to reboot because I'm not able to hear Emma on the recording. Well, I'm hearing her. I'm hearing her in my headphones, but I'm not seeing the waveform lay down in the recording software. This is inexplicable, but again, only if you think about it in the terms of Grimble Grumble doing it to force that sequence. So then I do reboot, and I had to reboot 3 times to get my monitor to work. And I say that also in the beginning of the episode, actually the first part of episode 35. I mentioned to her, hey, Emma, I just had to, and we're talking, laughing about the flurry of technical difficulties and the fact that I had to reboot my screen 3 times. Now, listen, I have described my setup. I work with an external monitor. I do reboot this computer frequently. Like I'm doing a heavy duty audio editing with huge files. Like one edit copy clip to move something around can be like 6 gigabytes of copy clipped data just to copy paste, a section of someone talking to where I want it at the beginning of a song or something. So I need to reboot this thing because it's working hard. And every time I reboot, just for whatever reason, like I just want to do it, I don't know if everyone does this or not, but a lot of people reboot their computer before they start working on it. And so every time I do that, it's fine, just fine. But I noticed, in part because I heard it back to myself in editing, that I had to do it 3 times with Emma. And it really stood out because I had to do it again the other day when I talked to Liz again a second time. And I independently reached out to Liz, and just before the call started, the screen with Liz did something similar. Here's what happened with Liz. We were talking, and a few things happened, like literally with Liz, that are why I needed to go back and talk with her, because her orb photos basically started the 156 thing, more or less. I'm convinced, and this is going to sound so weird, but I know I'm in friendly company, that I saw correctly that it was a number 5, which is why I was talking to Emma about it. And that when I went back, it had been switched to a number 6, and my comment had been switched to something cryptid. Is it safe for 6? All of which then made me scratch my head and say out loud to Emma, I just don't know. What, or was it switched? I actually do say that because one of the benefits of having these conversations and doing the hosting job is I can hear myself back clicking into my own confusion or clicking into my own stuff. And like, there's a lot going on in that episode that as episodes further come out is just going to be like I was asking for it in that episode. Also, I'm going to go so far as to say, and I'm going to just stick to this 3 times reboot thing as much as I can here without jumping too much around with free associations. I think that what happened in that episode happened for a few reasons. One, both Emma and I are like extreme animal lovers. She cares for injured and abused animals, and like I've got my own animal stuff going on. And I think the Fae know your heart, and I think people who are like Emma and I that way just have a certain, everyone knows that like super sensitive person that they know who just would never hurt a fly. Yeah. And, I'm that way, for good or for bad. And, that's a detriment sometimes in society, but in this Fae conversation, it's more of a blessing. So there's that. I also think that, not to sound hubristic, but at least, it's got to be at least 2/3 of what I was speculating on was right, and that's a whole big ding, 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 thank you, James, exit stage left, here's your bow, let me take a bow with you. We've been in this play together for episodes now. And really also the third reason is because if you look at it objectively from this workflow, let me take you through what I think has gone on. I talked to Jem. That conversation is powerful enough that Grimble Grumble is like, oh, what? Oh, something other than ring cams? Let me fucking check that out. Zips on over to my computer, whatever, reads my files. Hopefully doesn't look at my porn, just like, hey, this fucking guy's talking to all sorts of people about shit. What's going on in this machine kind of thing, sort of thing. And then hits me with, that whole sequence of events that introduces himself to everybody in the gnome named Grimble Grumble episode. Then, well, and then it just gets even stranger, but more linear when you really hear it, like I'm about to say. So then after that, I publish that. He's like, I don't know, it's like growing in strength from from the acknowledgement, maybe, if that's a thing. Like the more belief these entities get, they get stronger, like in a movie, like something like that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you've ever seen Jet Li and The One, it's about like an interdimensional universe where everyone knows there's interdimensionality. And in the movie, the premise is that Jet Li is a normal guy who doesn't know about this, and all of a sudden meets himself. And he meets himself because himself is trying to kill him. And the reason that that's happening is because if you kill yourself in another dimension, you absorb the powers of the other self you killed. And so the reason the movie is called The One is because it then becomes a fight between these two Jet Lis to become the one Jet Li. It's a pretty great movie, actually.
Oh, yeah. I have not seen it, but I'm going to look it up.
Anyhow, it's a good movie because it's all about interdimensionality, which I do think is part of this subject matter, which is totally crazy to consider. I was ready for fairies to be hiding. I didn't necessarily think that I was ready for them to really be like overlaid around us pretty much all the time, in our shit, in our heads, in our machines, et cetera, et cetera. But after getting introduced and sort of like doing a so-so okay job of manipulating my machine by turfing the audio settings, that's what really important here. Audio settings are really, really part of Grimble Grumble's calling card now that he's in my machine. Starting with making Emma's not work so that I have to call her back, with him then 3 times having to reboot my screen to match her 3 card pulls, pretty much, is what I think. You get the goosebumps there too? Yeah. Yeah, right? And so, and then I called Liz to try to talk it all out because I've had much more crazy shit happen in my house. And when I tried to call her, it was an inverse audio problem with a little bit of flavor, if you would, because he's gotten better at my machine. And so what he did with me and Liz is I'm talking with Liz and I can see the waveform laying down, but I can't fucking hear her in my headphone when I'm where I should be in terms of like everything is clicked to the right settings. I click away from the recording software, I can hear her in my headphone. I click back to the recording software, I can see her waveform laying down, but I can't hear her in the headphone. So he flipped it. And also, when I talked with Liz, the night after I talked with Liz is when I came back to the computer and saw the 156 multiples of my audio settings open up on my screen after being prompted to go and check the internet and come back to my computer to see it inexplicably open to that, which it had not been prior when I was checking to see if the internet was working. So to just kind of go back really quick, it's like when I talk with Emma, to go back even further, like when I talk with Jem, he got in. He then was trying to figure out what he could do with active calls when I was talking with Leaf. Then what's really interesting is that he somehow knew that William was going to tell me a story about gnomes. And then he traveled through both space and time to get to William's camping spot, take the charger out of William's pants pockets, effectively, bring it back to William's house, plug it in, just so that when William came home, instead of the episode he was going to make with me being about the gnome that stacked coins, our little friend stole the glory and made it about him. Then that's also him showing me, I can take away audio from you whenever I want, because William was wanting to interview with me while he was at the camping experience. He wanted to do his interview while he was sitting next to the campfire. And Grimble Grumble prevented it from happening until it was going to be an episode experience where he got acknowledged again. And so again, I do think by doing that, I'm like, building strength by within him by giving him that acknowledgement, but also I'm getting it right. Like I did it, both William and I were right. He did take the charger. It's clear now, and in retrospect with Emma's experience, it gets even more clear, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And Emma was going to tell me about the gnomes in the carpet.
That's insane.
And Mr. Grimble Grumble does not like to be outdone. And so he went to her house, ran up the... I'm getting full body goosebumps. Ran up the stairs the first time, kind of showing her, I'm here, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, when she was working. And then has been following her around, again, precognitively, knowing that the episode is going to happen, but also there when it's taking place now.
And so you think... So he was the one that was knocking things off the table?
Correct. And he's the one that switched the tarot cards on her, even though she pulled them and had them out. And he did it twice. He did it at the beginning of the episode where he took the cards that she had pulled and stashed them inside the deck, and they were no longer out. That's her first astonishment. Then we talk for 2 hours. I ask her about the cards additionally, and she can't find them.
Yeah, that was mind-blowing.
It's
Yeah.
so mind-blowing, and you can hear it in her voice. And so just to go through it again really quick, I met him through Jem. He introduced himself to me when he turfed my audio settings, which I screenshotted, thank goodness. Then I asked for the Pink Floyd song I wanted on my phone. Instead of that one, it played the gnome named Grimble Grumble. The next day, I was like so confused by that, I started to make the episode about it. During the making of that episode, I fully and completely recorded his audio. And then when I went to go place it in place, it had mysteriously cut off right at the words Grimble Grumble. The whole audio clip was there. The whole 2 minute and 36 seconds was there, but the waveform is gone at that moment. Now, just follow me. That is his initial calling card of watch me turf audio, right? And he turfed it right to introduce his name. Oh, I'm getting such bad goosebumps. And then he went on to learn how to do it at the start of calls, in effect. And that brings me full circle to you.
Wow. And I'm wearing a Pink Floyd t-shirt. Does that mean anything?
Whoa, that's very interesting. Oh, well, that's very interesting. Also, I'm about to tell you some insights that I have on our pre-conversation in text. But before I do, let me tell you what happened before we started talking now. So are you more or less with me on this Grimble Grumble hypothesis?
I think so. I've written notes and everything to keep following the story.
Well, listen, in this world, you get to hear this back later, so don't worry about that too much. And I literally had an existential crisis where I was almost going to shut this show down. And in part, Liz was kind enough to let me talk to her for 4 fucking hours about it. So now I can tell you in a more or less linear way with the benefit of hindsight. But what was clear to me is that as I was talking with Liz, something weird was happening. And I was like, just like when Emma and I were starting at our episode start, I was like laughing and Liz was laughing. And I was like, she was saying all this great stuff. And I was like, well, Liz, this is ridiculous. Like I can either hear you say this or I cannot hear you say this and watch it record. I have to hang up, you know? And you can hear me, thankfully, intact on my side, which captures the astonishment. And then I hang up and I go to reboot and the screen won't come on. And I go to reboot and the screen won't come on. And it does it 3 times. And sure enough, some strange stuff happened during the episode with Liz and I too, but low key, because I specifically made a point before that episode of telling Grimble Grumble, I'm calling Liz for support. This isn't a normal episode. Can you just like chill out? She doesn't know anything about gnomes. Like, can you just back off, you know?
Yeah.
Because he did stay out of the way for Brett's episode, and he stayed out of the way for... It wasn't until we're going to talk about another gnome than him that it really ramped up. And I also think that Emma is clearly enchanted. I also have a side theory that her cats are involved, because you could hear them trying to bonk to get in the room right around the time stuff started to go weird with the cards. And they're meowing at key moments too, which is like weird to me when I listen back to it. I'm like, are those cats meowing at Grimble Grumble while Grimble Grumble is playing with the cards and Emma's focused on me? It sure fucking sounds like it if you listen back later.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen to that one again and listen to the cats, because cats are weird. They pick up stuff like that.
All animals do. If you follow the Albert thing, that falcon or that sparrowhawk saw the Fae.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of examples throughout the episode work of animals seeing Fae. But I digress because I want to get to actually what happened before I started to talk with you.
Mm.
When I was talking with Liz, it was extremely therapeutic. And we were like clicking all these dots for me that really helped me. And one of them was like that I did have to do that audio stuff incredibly, just to finish the Liz pre-conversation recap. I'm illustrating to Liz. I'm like, watch, Liz, if I click here, now I can hear you. If I click here, now I can see you, but can't hear you. And I'm doing it to like while we're talking. And then I just go back to where I can hear her, and we're talking about it. And I was like, this is so weird. And she's like, it is so weird. And I'm not touching the mouse, nothing. And while we're talking and laughing about it, it fucking switches over. And that's captured. You can hear me laughing about it. And so I'm like, okay, like Grimble Grumble is essentially signaling to me, in effect, this is what's going on. He's sort of like, I know you're about to have a Fascinating Fae episode, James. And I'm wanting to remind you that I am here so that I get talked about at a minimum, motherfucker. That's what he's doing. Even though it's not going to be about him at all.
That's weird.
Oh, it's so weird. And then it only happens, these audio problems that I'm describing, when I'm doing this. And I talk to my dad. He's not well. I talk to him all the time. Same setup. And I've been doing this thing with my dad where I'm recording my dad telling me the stories of his life because he's going to die soon. And I just want to have that to listen back to. Anyhow, not to bum everybody out, but we all have aging parents, so it happens. Just to get to the grand finale here, which is I'm about to talk to my intuitive, sought out new friend, Becky B in Australia, and I'm talking with you. And so once I do say to Becky, and by the way, this is important. Like I said earlier, William would have had no way of knowing that Grimble Grumble existed because he did not listen to the show before we talked. And I had been talking to William offline on Reddit chat for fucking 7-8 weeks. And I finally convinced him to come on the show to tell me his gnome story. And he's like, okay, I'm going camping. I'll tell you tonight before I go camping. And then I missed that message. And in the morning, I went back to go reach him, and I couldn't reach him for 3 days. And I thought, fuck, I missed him. The very next message I get from him is 3 days later. He's like, I'm back from camping, and I need to talk to you. That's the message I got. And the reason was because he took the charger with him. He was going to talk to me when he was camping. He knew he took the charger with him. It was gone. He speculated while camping with everyone, why did the charger go? Again, he's got no idea about this Grimble Grumble shit whatsoever. And then he comes back in, and the way the charger was plugged in, it was plugged into the wall right when you open the door to his condo kind of thing. And he's got a little kitchen alcove. It was plugged in where it would be, like should be, stretched out, like completely stretched out, pointing at the door.
Oh, that's weird.
It's so bizarre. And then that's why, and then he tells me about it. And it was enough for me to like put it in the episode as like, this is probably Grimble Grumble stuff. And so he's really good. He is good at getting noticed from another dimension. And tonight when I decided to talk with you, we were chatting on Facebook. And the first problem is this. Not long ago, we decided to talk, you and I.
Yeah.
And we've been trying to put it together. And we had one go at it that for some reason didn't really work out. And I couldn't figure it out. And you made this comment when I went looking for you, which was, maybe the Fae are messing with us.
Yeah.
Now today, I'm like, okay, awesome. I'm going to finally talk to Becky B because yesterday we finally kind of got back in touch enough to like put it together and get a day together, which is today. And so I'm like, first things first, I'm like, earlier, I'm going to go log in to talk to Becky again. First of all, this was the weirdest thing. And I'm not exaggerating. I have to fucking set up a digital recorder on my computer for days I'm working on Fascinating Fae stuff. In Facebook, you know how you can search for somebody in Messenger, right? Well, this lucky guy has like almost 1,700 friends on Facebook. So I got to type in BEC to get to you kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So BECKY, nothing. No Becky.
I disappeared.
You were gone. I was like, what the fuck? And I refresh and I see this weird message I've never seen on Facebook before, which says couldn't load chats. And it was like a weird blue square off to the left, hovering just above where all the chat things are. And everyone's chat came up. And then I searched again and I found you. And I get to our chat and it's blank.
What?
And I sent you a screenshot of that. Did you look at it?
You did. Yeah.
And I'm
That's
like,
it. Mine wasn't blank.
no,
But
yours
yours
is fine.
was.
Yours is
Yeah.
fine. Yours is fine. Grimble Grumble
Yeah,
doesn't
yours
live in
was
your
huge.
computer. Careful, because after tonight you will have a way in.
I'm on my toes now. Like, I'm prepared, I think. I'm on the lookout.
But I did send you that screenshot. Can you confirm for everybody?
You did, and there was nothing there.
And I went quickly to Danielle's, to Katie's, to others, and they're fine.
Yeah.
So then I was like, this is weird. And I sent you a few messages accordingly. Did I not? I was like, this is strange, but
Yeah.
you know, I hope you're getting these. Let's do it tonight.
Yeah.
And then I'll finish my tech stuff by saying the following things happened, which is not inexplicable to me anymore because we're about to have a real fairy talk. Thanks for tolerating this protracted introduction to your episode.
No, it's interesting. No, all good.
Cool. I hoped that you would think so. And I'm glad you do. So thank you for that. I really do appreciate you tolerating it because it is, I don't fucking know. I'm just alone hosting this fairy podcast, wondering about this stuff nonstop. And so I have to get it out of my head some constructive way.
Oh yeah, you gotta make sense of it because it's just.
Well, let's make some great content while we lose our minds, you know, at the same time. Anyhow, so now I'm like, can't find you. So I can't find you. First of all, then I do find you, then the conversation is gone. Then I get up from that and I literally get up, I go take a pee because I had to, and I come back and I'm getting ready to clear my computer on Emma's episode because it's a huge file and I did all those Beastie Boys intros, which are huge, and I need the room. And I was just sitting at the computer. I'm not sitting, I lie down, but you get the idea. I was just at the computer. I was just messaging you. We're maybe, I don't know, 40 minutes out from starting this call. I was just messaging you as the last thing I did. I go take a piss, I come back, my computer screen is dark, like it's, you know, I'm like, that's weird. When I lay down at it, I click my mouse to wake it up, nothing. Sound familiar? Because I had to start my computer 3 times to get my monitor.
Is that what happened last time? It just went dark?
No, this is the first time it's done that. And it's also the first time that your messages from the past are gone. It's also the first time that I couldn't search for a person on Facebook. Like, what the fuck is up with that?
Oh.
And then just to like, because he's getting better at my machine. And they're tricksters, so it's not going to be the same way every time. Come on. That's beneath him for one.
Yeah.
Now you're understanding it better. Yes, exactly. That's what I think too. You get it. I can hear nowadays when a guest or someone is getting it along with me. Thank fuck, because I'm feeling less alone. Because that's what it is. It's like it's the calling card all over again, but it's a little varied, you know, just like everything I've been trying to describe in a linear workflow here so that everyone can see it. And if you go back and you listen to this shit again, it becomes so fucking obvious. You can catch the times where I'm intuitively saying it out loud, and it's almost like I'm asking for it, left, right, and center. But anyway, so now I lie back down at my computer, it doesn't start, and I just go like, wow, like, huh? When I say it doesn't start, it's black, like it's totally black. And I can see the part that is not the external monitor, the built-in MacBook Air screen is on, because I get up and look at that, that's on. I'm like, what? Not like I was just using it. I got up to take a piss. I laid back down. It's black. I reboot, black again. I rebooted the third time. This is the weirdest part. Black there. And even though the computer started back up again, I heard it go boom. The MacBook Air monitor was now also totally black. And I know this is true because I was convinced the computer was on because I could see it feeding power to the external monitor, which is, means that it's on. And I pressed the caps lock button, which has a little light on it. And that came on and off. The little light works. So meaning the caps lock is registering. So then I had to unplug all of the cables associated with my monitor and reboot a fourth time in order for this to come back on and start the call with you here today.
Oh my God. How frustrating. But also, yeah, again, and right at the start of trying to talk with me, it's happened, or talk with someone. He's messing with you.
Anytime I want to talk with anyone at all, he's got to get mentioned. And anytime we're going to talk about another gnome, he's going to grandstand on that shit hard and make it about him. So it would be interesting in a way to see if somebody out there has been holding on to a gnome story that wants to come forward and then watch what happens. I'm truly interested to see if he can resist himself and stay out of the gears for one of those gnome stories that are not going to be about him.
Weird.
I know I'm starting to talk about the Fae like they're real people, but I truly believe Grimble Grumble is a name of a real Fae. We all now know that Fae's name. If there's any doubt, just go back and listen to episode 35 and 36 again and go all the way back to Ring Ring Gnome's Home and just do that suite 5 or 6 times in a row. Listen to those episodes in sequence until you get it, because it's obvious.
Oh, it's so crazy.
It is totally bizarre. Honestly, Becky, I really appreciate you agreeing with that and riding along with me on that little mini wave. But it does involve you, because what I've come to understand is that would only happen when a real fairy conversation is about to happen that he now needs to at least a little bit overshadow or be part of. So it's a confirmation of for me in advance, like no other, that I'm about to talk to somebody who's got some cool stuff to talk about.
Well, can I just put in here, because you're saying that he likes to be talked about and likes to be acknowledged. At the moment, I'm actually working on an artwork, a specimen artwork, I call them, the skeletons. And the first time ever it's a gnome. And I've never worked on a gnome before, but this one, I kind of laugh. It's like they tell you, it sounds really weird, but a lot of artists get it where you go in to make something, but it doesn't want to be that. It tells you what it wants to be. And this one had to have a beard and had to have a hat, like a pointed hat. And yeah, I thought it was really big because I'd never really done a gnome before. And I thought, all right, you're going to be a gnome. And that's what's sitting on my desk right now to be worked on. So that's weird. I don't know.
It's not weird. If I may, I'm sorry. This is going to sound weirder than what you just said, but if I may, he's known you're coming on this episode for a while.
Right. Because we also had something fall off the TV last night, right in front of us. My husband jumped up and grabbed it, and we were both like, what the hell is that? We've been watching telly, nothing had touched the cabinet, and then this Lego dinosaur just fell. That was weird too. And that was just last night.
And are you ready for it?
So he's already here. He's already here.
No, I'm fully about to puke with goosebumps, this motherfucker. It's not my show anymore. Right?
No, it's his.
It's fucking his.
I'm getting shaky hands. That's really weird. Crazy.
I can't get away. I can't get away. Tell me about what happened with the dinosaur last night. It happens?
Um, the Lego dinosaur that was just sitting on top, it just fell right in front of us. And then my husband, like, it was almost like slow motion. He's just reached up, went over the coffee table and just grabbed it. And yeah, I remember thinking, wow, I was expecting it to fall and smash, but he grabbed it. And then we're both sort of looking at each other like, what was that? And I made the comment, oh, it's a poltergeist, obviously, or it's the fairies, which is used to me just saying, oh, it was just, and he was just like, yeah, that was really weird. And he put it back and we kept eating our dinner. I don't know.
So he wanted you to make him as a fairy specimen because you, like others that I talked to, are channeling real Fae into your work, Becky.
I think so. In a weird way, yeah. Yeah.
I know it because he's reached you. If you've never made a gnome before.
No, never.
And just to make sure that you got it, he pushed that Lego dinosaur over. I do think there's something there with that Lego dinosaur and you describing this new project, wanting to be a gnome.
Yeah. Oh, and one more thing. While I was working on the gnome, I had like a tub, sort of a drawer tub thing that I have my fabric in. And I'd pulled stuff out to make his hat. And I hadn't put it back properly, but it sat there for ages. And then while I was in the kitchen, it just fell. That scared the crap out of me, to be honest. I was like, Jesus, all right, I'll finish you. But yeah, so that was another weird thing that just kind of fell in the house.
All right, well, Mr. Grumble, you've had the first 35 minutes of this fucking show. It's all yours. I believe, honestly, that my hypothesis around how the quote-unquote synchronicities of these episode experiences could be explained is truly the biggest puzzle here. I'm like, okay, they're somewhere, okay, they're real. How in the fuck do they know we're about to talk? How do they, like, it just doesn't register with me. There's still a missing piece. They know you're in Australia. That's literally across like all of the oceans.
Yeah.
There's no logical way that can be true other than if you follow the hypothesis, which is that like they have a sort of omnipotent, I don't know, like if time is rushing at us, then it's already kind of happened at least a little bit to be rushing at us. Maybe they can look a little ahead. I don't know. I just don't know.
I reckon. I think our little simple human brains can't quite comprehend just what they can do with time and space, I think.
I agree with you a lot. Now let's get this back over to you because this is really meant to be about you, and I have talked far too much at the start of your episode. I truly do mean that. I feel actually quite guilty.
No, it is good.
Well, thank you for being so gracious. I really sincerely appreciate it. Part of the reason I'm willing to do it or wanted to do it today is because I just felt this strong intuition to talk to you, and I do know why now, because this little motherfucker is like really he's in my shit. Like he's in my time-space continuum is kind of how I feel. I actually found myself talking out loud to Grimble Grumble yesterday like he was in my kitchen. Like I was just conversing with him, being like, bravo, man. Thank you for putting that episode out with me. Truly, like I was like, if they give out Oscars for podcasting, I'll get them to write your name on it, not mine. I told him that.
Yeah.
Let's finish his fucking grandstanding. He even gets me to do it over and over again. It's so bizarre. I have reached out to Becky because initially Becky was a really great commenter. Becky, thanks for that. Thanks for appreciating Fascinating Fae.
No problem.
I immediately kind of, want to know who's listening to my show when I see someone's really engaged. So that's what took me to your website to learn about your fairy specimens. They're unlike any other fairy art representation I'd seen before. So first of all, I really want to acknowledge and credit you for doing something truly original.
Thank you. A bit dark, aren't they? I love it.
This whole subject matter is on the line between dark and light, if you ask me.
True.
And so I see them for what they are, which is true representations of Fae. I actually do pick up the same kind of heat and woozy signature when I look at your stuff that I do when I look at Danielle's or Brett's or others that I've definitely almost gotten to the point where I don't I got enough Fae energy hitting me that I can't even really sometimes think about even talking to Danielle, for instance, because stuff just gets too crazy when her and I get together. But I get that sort of taste when I look at your stuff. So I'm here in part to explore that sense by asking you if you would be so kind, Becky, to, no one knows you here. I don't know you at all. This is a podcast about people as much as it is about the Fae. I know you've alluded to some stuff that you're going to tell us about, but why don't we just start with you, please? Because I think I'd like to understand that. Like, your website talks about you starting your fairy project at a younger age. And so maybe just take us back to when and why this started and who you are as a person in relation to that. I think that would be an amazing place to begin, if that would be okay with you.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I guess I'm one of those artsy people that has just been an artist since day dot, since I could draw. I've just been fascinated with fairies, and I think I just never grew out of it. I was never ashamed to be interested in fairies. Even when I hit high school, I was the fairy artist. That's just what I like to do. And so, yeah, it's always stayed with me, to the point where if I'm not drawing, I almost feel like I'm wasting my time. Like, I'm always making something, always. And then in recent years, I had, I guess, a series of events that just pushed me into doing art full time. It was almost like the universe was just making all these things happen, like, this is what you have to do. And so I followed it, and I've been running my own little fairy art business for about 3 years now. And yeah, I'm not sure where else to go. I've just been obsessed with other fairy artists since I was a kid, and like Brian Froud, I'm sure you're familiar with him now. I got one of his books when I was about 11, I think, and I was just totally obsessed with him and the movies he made and his family and everything that they do. And yeah, to the point I even named one of my children after his son Toby Froud from The Labyrinth, The Baby in the Labyrinth. It's all connected. I could go down the rabbit hole, but the Frouds are, they're like king and queen of the fairy art world.
Feels that way about the Frouds. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sure you hear a lot about them.
This is truly impressive to learn that there are people elsewhere in the world doing something as honestly impressive as running a fairy art business full time. That's really cool.
Yeah, living the dream.
Honestly, I think there's definitely more than one person listening to this show that's going to find that very inspiring.
I hope so. I really hope so.
If nothing less, that's a great reason to have brought you on the show here today. Out of respect for my audience and who I know they are, I'm really happy to have them hear that message. That's really cool. That's not easy. I've done all sorts of stuff in business, and business is hard, and business doing fairy art is very, you like I said at the beginning, I do feel you have a great deal of uniqueness to your approach, and that's matched with talent to execute it. So I'm not surprised to hear that, and I do congratulate you for having the courage to do that with your life. That's fucking rad.
Oh, thank you. I mean, like a lot of people, I still get that imposter syndrome and, oh, am I good enough? So that's really flattering. Thank you so much. It means a lot.
Well, I do mean it, and I reached out for a reason. Let's talk audio about visual things. So tell the audience about what you make, because they're really unique. And I've described them as a fairy specimen, which is how I've seen them described on your socials and site. But what does that look like, and what does that mean to people, just to help those that are listening?
Yeah, sure. So a fairy specimen is basically it looks like a dead fairy. So it's like a skeleton corpse with fairy wings and hair, like your typical fairy, I guess, but a lot more macabre looking. But the idea behind them is that I'm a bit like Brett. I'm one of those people that just loves bones and weird stuff, My house is decorated with birds' nests and weird bones and skulls and things that I find, including things like little dead butterflies and moths that I've got in jars or frames, all found, by the way. And I had this thought years and years ago, how cool would it be to have a fairy in the same kind of display case or something on the wall? So I thought, well, I'll make something for myself and just see how it goes. And so I made a couple, and the feedback was like, people either loved them or they hated them. And I don't know, I just really liked that. It makes me giggle when people get offended by art. So, I sold a couple, and then I made more, and then it just developed into this big collection. So I've numbered every single one. So I'm actually up to like 100 and something. So that's how many I've made over the last 10 or so years. And yeah, it's something really unique that other people weren't doing, although I'm noticing it starting to come up now, which is I've come to peace with. I can't be the only fairy specimen maker in the world, but yeah, I'm starting to see them pop up now. So I think people really like the idea.
Well, flattery is what's the phrase? Imitation is the highest form of flattery.
That's so true. Yeah.
It is really tough when someone starts tromping on your, like, I don't know what I would have done if someone had another big art boat painted like orcas and was racing alongside me trying to scare whale watchers too. I'd be like, hey, that's my thing. I'm the art boat captain, not you.
That's it. At first it's a little like, oh, that was my idea. But then I think of all the people in the world, surely I'm not the only one that has come up with that idea. There's a book called Big Magic, and it's about how creative ideas are like alive but invisible, and they float around. And if you get the idea and you don't work on it, it's going to find someone else. And it's this really fascinating book about, jumping on your ideas and making them happen. But I'm sure other people have come up with the same idea, and that's cool. As long as we have our own sort of approach to it, you don't want a direct copy.
Never. That's very important in the world of iteration. It's one thing to for instance, like when I put Beastie Boys songs, that's the concept of fair use, right? If I were to copy those songs, then that's totally different. And say they're mine, or otherwise, put out something so obviously inspired by that it would be on the line of copying, which does happen in music and art all the time, like you're pointing out. I would say that, in my humble opinion, you originated the artwork style, based on my research, because I did, to try to make sure I'm bringing quality content on the show, check around and make sure this isn't something just everyone is doing, and I'm You know what I mean? Yeah, like if you're going to try to interview somebody who's into Pokemon Go, you're going to have a really hard time picking out who's worth interviewing from all the people that talk about Pokemon Go. You're basically the originator of this art style, in my opinion. They really do look like a miniature excavation site has been stumbled upon, or here in Canada, we are famous for our Badlands where the dinosaurs are found in Alberta. And I've been there and I've seen, in the ground still, preserved part of displays and everything, but they're just very evocative of that style of preservation, as well as what you've actually created to be preserved. I think they're really cool. And I do think that actually, as weird as it might sound, because like contrastingly to say someone like Brett, who's, doing, like Brett's style is not exactly a skeletalized fairy. They would, they have skin and hair and stuff. And
Yeah.
same with like Danielle, who's doing like a more alive style representation. It is strange to me, I'm just saying, that I pick up real fairy vibes from the fact that and that yours are skeletons. I think you've caught like the dead face state of them, or they are, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I really do think you're catching real fae in your work though.
I hope so.
Well, that little bit about the gnome at the beginning is hard to pass
Yeah.
off. So
Yeah, that's actually quite weird because I didn't know why I was doing a gnome. I usually do fairies or dragons. Dragons come up in my work a lot, and people have asked me where the dragons come from, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I've only done a few, and then when I looked, I realized that I've got a huge body of dragon work in my art, and I don't know where it comes from. I don't set out to do dragon art. It just comes.
there are two people who I am holding off on bringing on the show, possibly because I want to do it near Christmas. But one of them has seen something basically like would best be described as rocks coming to life, like boulders coming to life. The other, I'm convinced, is honest, has seen a dragon in real life.
Wow. Well, my art's certainly drawn a lot of dragon energy, I'm told, and people who are really into dragons will find me and tell me I've got this dragon energy, which I don't. I've tried looking into it. There's not much about it, but it's interesting what people tell me when they see some of my artwork. They're like, "Where's it coming from?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm inspired by this or that." And they're like, "No, where is it coming from?" And I'm like, "I don't know." But it's really got me thinking, though.
Honestly, when I started this journey of trying to understand what I saw back in 2019, which came into the wheelhouse of my boat, I didn't expect whatsoever to end up over in art, which is like, I feel like a complete idiot because I was in a giant art boat when the thing happened, only to end up back at the idea that art is actually channeling or conjuring the fae.
Yeah.
I do think that there's something there more than just like for instance, like as the straight white guy in this mix, a lot of the time I do feel like I'm the least fairy person in these conversations and in these Facebook groups, even though they're kind of centered around my work, which is odd experience to be sure, because I'm just not a fairy. Like even when I research this stuff or read the fairy census, there's this part of me that still is like, what am I fucking doing with my time? Like, what am I actually doing with my time? I'm, literally the I can hear it in my head, like, you're a 45-year-old white man, like, go.
Is it that skeptical side of the brain coming in? Because I still get that.
Well, when you said earlier that if you feel like you're not drawing, you feel like you're wasting your time, I cannot pull myself away from this show. I just can't. Like, I just...
yeah, like you're just drawn to it like a magnet.
It fucking has me. And when episodes like the one with Emma go down, and then later I get the next, series of calls end up with another gnome hit from you, it just reinforces that drug effect of doing this show work, which... for people that are really tapping into Fae energy, I think is part of the high or part of the why. Like, when you're telling me about how you've become a full-time fairy artist, I mean, if I'm honest, I'd love to become a full-time fairy podcaster,
Oh, you're on your way. Yeah.
Thanks. And that journey is you're feeling your way out into darkness, steps into basically unknown. There's this quote, I can't remember who it's from, but it basically says, as we take a step into the darkness of the unknown, we will either find something firm to stand on or we will be taught to fly. and I can't remember who that's from, but I'll try to look it up later and attribute it in the show notes. And that's really just what I think the fairy experience requires of everyone, is to take that step firmly into the unknown on some level.
Yeah.
It was starting this podcast for me. With you and others, it's definitely finding your art form that is the way that you can get this itch of what is real out of your head and into your hands, or in my case, into your ears.
Yeah.
It's a need at this point for me to continue this work. Do you feel the same way with your fairy stuff? I'm just curious. Could you put it down, or do you just have to keep going?
It's like once you're on that path, if you fall off it, you just get pushed back on. So I went, like, during lockdowns, because I'd been home, I'd been a stay-at-home mum for a few years, and I was like, I'm a bit over, love my kids, but I need to get back into work. And so I was going for interviews, and I couldn't even get an interview. I was applying for so many jobs, and I felt, what's wrong with me? I can't even get a job. And then we went into lockdowns, and I thought, well, all right, maybe that's not the path for me right now. I'll study. And so I ended up a friend told me about a free business course. So I thought, all right, we'll do that. So I did the business course, and I thought, well, I love doing art. I'll enter it as if I was going to do my own business as an artist, which I didn't really think I could earn enough. But as it happens, it's worked. And everything just kind of fell into place, and jobs came up. I do a bit of freelance work. I do commissions. I do wholesale, and all these opportunities kept coming up and just keeping me busy. And it was like just being in this flow. Like, it just worked. It's so hard to explain, but it just felt like this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I just went with it, and here I am. And now I'm talking to you, so it's all crazy.
There's a lot of bravery on display in your work and in just your life story that you're being kind enough to share with me tonight, and I really like hearing it. I really like hearing people doing what they want to do and making it work. It's one of my favorite things. It truly is. My whole life, I've been very lucky that despite a lot of challenges, I've gotten to really do that with, I really get to do what I want whenever I want, and that's a huge privilege, and so just hearing people like achieve that through Fae and through fairy association is powerful. And actually, Brett is also fortunate enough to be a full-time artist. She was telling me about that journey starting back in 2009 a little bit, and the decision to take that step, so yeah. You know what? I would just encourage my other artist creators who listen to this show that are working with the Fae to do what you can on your own side of things, and watch as they catch you on the flip side and make it work with you. Because I do think a lot of those synchronicities and opportunities happen when you do take that step of bravery into, like, because for me, I can think about it more in terms of what drove me to start a cannabis dispensary, which was against the law. That was in its own way a very fairy-fied moment that I didn't realize until way later, because it then put me in that art boat and actually was aligning me with plants and shiny, sparkly, medicinal plants, which I'm pretty sure the Fae love cannabis, if I'm completely honest.
I think they do.
They probably love the mushrooms and cannabis just as much as I do.
Yeah.
Which is maybe why they like me so much. I've often wondered if I'm just more like them than not, because, I just want to be nice to everything and feel great all the time. So
yeah.
Anyhow, one of the things I wanted to ask you as we transition away from talking about your work, and for everybody, could you just say, please, your website address here in the middle of the show one more time, just so everyone can find your work, please?
Oh, sure. It's menagerieofmagic.com.
Also on socials at Menagerie of Magic, for all those listening. And these fairy specimens are really cool. If you're into collecting, these representations of the Fae, because some of my audience members are starting to collect the works they hear talked about. And so I hope that that is something that also reaches you. One of the things that I was going to ask you, and I will ask you now, I actually have a pretty decent listenership in Australia. It's in the top 4. It kind of goes like UK, United States, Canada, and then Australia. Would I be allowed to commission one of your works to do a possibly perfect prize pack Australia version, so that there's a specific prize in Australia, Australian shipping, Australian audience member only? Could I do that with you? Would that be something you'd be into?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd be honored.
Well done. We'll talk about that more offline, but for everyone listening, that's something to look forward to. We'll give it away on Halloween as well, just like the grand prizes that I've already commissioned. So that's a way of me saying thanks for your time here as much as anything. And I actually have really been enjoying the benefit of audience growth from that particular strategy. So it's really working for me as well. So let's do it. Okay. Here's a couple of things I wanted to ask before you get into some stories that you might want to tell. In Australia, what the heck do people think about fairies, honestly? What is going on with the top four being Australian listeners? Do people, is it a big deal over there? Is it, because in the UK it's a big deal, so what's it like in Australia?
Well, I think a lot of people love the typical fairy with wings and glittery whatnot. It's just popular here like everywhere else, I think. But being a fairy artist and making connections with other fairy artists, there's quite a lot of us around. I've actually found myself in this little group of artists in a collective that I work at, where we all make and share our art, and they are really into fairies. So there's a group of us that get together, we make fairy art, we talk about what books we're reading, what podcasts we're listening to. So I told them all about you a couple of weeks ago. And we're a lot more open-minded as to what's out there, what's really going on. But looking into Australian, Indigenous Australians and the Dreamtime, they actually talk about fairies as well. They're called mimis, I believe, and they're described as very small, human-like creatures with really long, thin arms and legs, and they live in the grass. And according to the Dreamtime, they taught humans how to hunt and gather, and how to use the land to live off. So an Aboriginal history goes back millions of years. So it really blows my mind how fairies come up in all around the world, even though Australia had no contact with other countries until just over 200 years ago. So that I find really fascinating. And I've heard you talk about, I think, the Sasquatch, whereas here I think it's called a Yowie, but it's the same. Yeah, it's the same creature and the same kind of history, I guess, but in a completely different country.
You also have the Yeti in and you have the Yirin in China, which is also the Yowie or the Sasquatch.
Yeah.
And I do think there's something really strange about Yeti, Yirin, and Yowie, because if you think about a real name or a real word or a real sound, it does often kind of get mucked up in translation. But I mean, all those really sound like everyone's met the real thing and is just saying it a little differently. Is really what.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was talking about it with a girlfriend recently, and I started looking up sightings, and where I live right now, which isn't in the forest or anything, it used to be farmland. There were sightings about 30 or 40 years ago, just down the road from where I live. And it was described as this this male or masculine figure that was taller, like 6 or 7 foot. 6 or 7 foot? Sorry. I can't remember. Taller than like a usual bloke anyway, covered in hair, but in the middle of a paddock. Like it wasn't hidden. But there's been a few sightings around here and then some up in the forest as well. And that was something that I had never ever looked into. But I looked into it recently and I was a bit mind blown by that.
One of the things that Ron, the very first guest on this show, says is that fairies are kind of like as old as Earth. He actually says they've been here for 60,000 years and that they were seeded on the Earth by an alien race who actually, if you can imagine like tossing a handful of rice down on the ground, the way he described it to me in an offline conversation, he said fairies were seeded onto the Earth, like you might throw down grass seed kind of thing.
Wow.
And that they are like what animates life in a sense, which is really interesting to contemplate as you hear people on this podcast talk about them coming out of trees, coming out of rocks, coming out of like even Maddie in episode 4, Argentinian Amazement. I talked to him so much because that was way back when I was just getting started, and I was like, what do you mean it was just so thin and it just disappeared and turned into a flower, or disappeared into a flower? And I just kept talking to him about that over and over again. And the best I could get through the language barrier and me, not trying to berate him, was like, he really did watch it turn into a flower. Like he did watch that happen. And he just didn't want to say it on the podcast, because how do you tell somebody you watched an ultra thin Venta black flying fairy turn into a flower when you went chasing after it?
Yeah. And it's not the kind of thing you would make up, I don't think.
It would be too weird to make up.
Yeah, like you wouldn't make up a fairy being Vanta black. That kind of stuff blows my mind too.
Here's where I'm at. I have had a journey of like, where I'll be like, well, I don't know if I believe that person, but this is a good podcast episode. Well, I guess I'm just going to put it out. I'm doing a fairy podcast. What do I fucking expect? I've been that guy a lot, and I'm the host of this show. So sorry, everybody who's like, can feel that. Because there's a few people who I like didn't put their episode out for a while because I was just like, I just don't fucking know. But now I'm Jim White, host of Fascinating Fae, man du jour, episode 35 and 36 under my belt. And what that series of events in Emma's episode really does is it back validates essentially every single fucking thing I've done on this program since day one as being completely true.
Yeah.
Every single guest is true. Yeah.
Because it crosses my mind too, like, are people making stuff up? But then they're not gaining anything. They're not getting paid. They're not, a hero all of a sudden. And that's the other thing that gets me, is that what's the motive? There is none. They just want to share their story. So who am I to not believe it? I don't know.
It's like this too. Like I walk the plank first by saying I saw one, and then will you walk the plank after me? And none of us are getting walking the plank is a really bad analogy. I mean, trying to think of a better one. I guess what I'm trying to say, analogies aside, I'll just say what I'm trying to say. It took a bunch of balls for me to start the show in the way that I didn't know what people were going to think about what I was trying to achieve, right? Because I do know that fairies are real because I saw one, and I know what I saw, and I'll never forget what I saw. And it wasn't in my imagination. It wasn't anything other than what I keep saying it was. And by the time we get to episode 35 or 36, not only am I to be believed, hopefully, but then therefore every single other person who's told this stuff is to be believed too. Because how do you explain all of it? And how do you explain what happened most of all? Because here's what it's happened. This is what's happened. It's gone from collecting stories to real life chronicling of Fae activity. which is a fucking unreal transition for a humble effort of like, I hope other people saw stuff and I can learn from it, to end up
Yeah.
at, right? And that's wild to me. So I'm glad that you can kind of acknowledge that with me, because I'm as surprised as anybody else, right? You've listened to all these episodes. Did I sound like I was starting off to like end up where we are? No, no chance.
No, but it's a really interesting journey, and I'm a bit obsessed with your podcast. I really love hearing all the episodes. You don't quite know what you're going to get, but then I love the way they're all connected. There's like something that happens in one that shows up in another, and it's this weird journey that you get taken on. Yeah.
It's truly unfolding in a way that is not my doing. I will want and always, try to say that this is not like I'm at the wheel of this car, but I mean, it's pretty much, I could take my hands off and it's self-driving. It's kind of how I feel sometimes. Actually, with that beautiful segue, and thanks for that really wonderful compliment about Fascinating Fae. I can tell you like it because you're around, and that honestly lifts me up to know you feel that way and that you're listening and that you're getting as much out of it as I am. Because as much as anything, Becky, I'm a fan of this show. I like to listen to it too and think about it all. Mm-hmm. There's so much actual connection that it really does, like, I mean, not the least of which is right here in the beginning parts of this episode with your Lego guy and your gnome motivation, which I'm sure in retrospect, when you listen back and when we listen back a year from now and 2 years from now, it just gets clearer and clearer. But that gives an opportunity to segue into some of your stories that you might want to talk about. So just before we do, a quick reminder, we've been talking fairly freeform here today, though I do think in a way that is actually very linear to everything and all of it. And that's something that, I really want to appreciate your capability of doing with me. You're quite smart. I think people who are into fairies are actually really intelligent. Maybe I'd go so far as to say a little bit more intelligent than the average Joe. So just really want you to know, I think you're smart. I think you're doing real channeling work with your Fae specimens. And I'm totally thrilled to hear whatever you're about to tell me in terms of your stories. And so, just a quick reminder to the audience, there's no rush here. Lots of context, whatever you feel is necessary to make the story make sense, Becky, is cool with me and cool with everybody else. And I'll ask you questions, when I can, but I definitely won't interrupt you that much. So,
okay, I'll feel free to cut in whenever you want to.
Well, I'll do it as I feel necessary, but as much as possible, I like to stay out of the mix. So if you'd be so kind as to tell us where you want to begin in your fairy story recounts, I'm all ears.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I think I mentioned to you that I haven't actually seen anything with my physical eyes. People talk about the third eye, which I find really hard to distinguish between my imagination, like what's really there and what's just me thinking of things. So I don't really see things that way yet, because I hope so. But no, I had an experience, and this is interesting. Today here, it's the 8th of September, and when I checked my diary where I wrote about this experience, it was the 11th of September last year. So almost a whole year to the day, but not quite. So what happened is I felt something. So, but the whole day, there was a few magical things that happened throughout the day, which kind of all lead to this little experience, which is why I tend to think it's Fae related. So I'll start with the morning. So as I mentioned to you, I've got a few artist friends, fairy artist friends, and sometimes we'll meet up for a little gathering. And this particular day, we were meeting up at one of the girls' houses. It was this beautiful day, and she lives in the forest, like the most magical place, I think, in Victoria, personally, the Dandenong Ranges. So I'm traveling to her house, and I'm driving through this forest, and then out of nowhere comes this lyrebird, Now, lyrebird it's a native Australian bird, but they're really rare to see. They're like a large, it's on our 10-cent coins. So it's like a large chicken type bird with this really long, beautiful tail. And people can go like their whole lives looking for this bird and just don't see it. And here it was, and it's run right in front of my car. Not close enough that I was going to hit it, but I mean, I could have, but luckily I didn't. But it's run out in front. It was almost, I remember thinking like it was really cheeky. It was just like, here I am, and it's run across the road, and I was like, holy shit, I think that was a lyrebird. And the next thing, it's turned around and it's done it again. And it was really significant because I'd never seen one before in the wild. In fact, I don't think I'd seen one before at all. And then here it is, just midday, going through the forest, and it's run in front of my car twice. And so that was like, it was like this magical moment. I was like, oh, I can't wait to tell the girls what I saw. So I keep driving, I get to my friend's house, and the first thing we do, of course, is make a coffee, have a chat. So we're sort of settling in to do our fairy crafting for the day. And we were outside on the balcony. And this is like maybe half an hour later. And I saw a deer, which they're not native to the area, but there's known to be deer running around in the hills. And so I pointed it out and I said, oh, shit, I think there's a deer over there. And that one was looking at us. And my friend was really surprised because she knew that they were in the area, but she'd never seen one before, like near her house. So we all came out and had a look, and it was all, again, a little magic moment that we'll see in this deer. And then we went inside to do our little crafternoon. But before we did that, one of the girls suggested like a fairy meditation. So she's put on this, it was a Wendy Froud one. So she's put on this meditation, and we've sat around and done our little walk through fairy visual thingy. And it was just after that, we've come out of the meditation and we're getting all of our crafty things ready. And I felt something fly, almost like it was from my shoulder straight past my ear. Now, stay with me because, I mean, this is the part where it makes me feel a bit silly because you could so easily just dismiss that as some kind of, it was a fly, or it was a bug, or it was whatever. But it was so significant because there was a distinct buzzing sound, and it wasn't a bee. It was like this, it was really quick, but it was like this loud buzzing, but it had this, it was like a flapping, or like a flutter. So my first thought is it was like a large moth. And so straight away, of course, I've turned and there was nothing there. And I've looked around the house and I'm like, if there was a moth, I would have seen it. If it was a bee, it wasn't a bee because it was bigger. Definitely wasn't a fly, because a fly's annoying. That would just like fly into your head or something. But yeah, it was this distinct flutter, and it was like a buzz, but it was too fast to be like a moth. And this is the thing, I've been going over this moment for ages, trying to work out what insect it was, trying to make sense of it. And I remember just looking around thinking, what was that? And I wanted to say something to the girls, like out of all the people to talk to, they would have been the ideal people to tell. But I felt silly. I felt like maybe I was wishful thinking. I thought, oh, we've just done this fairy meditation and, you know, we're doing our fairy stuff. Next thing, I've had this little experience. It's going to sound like I'm making it up or something. So I never actually told them. And it was just, yeah, I just can't stop trying to work out trying to debunk it, but I could never debunk it because I know what I heard, and I know what I felt, and I just can't make sense of it. And it's funny because not long after that, it got me thinking about people and their experiences, which is what led me to look up podcasts about fairy experiences, which is what led me to, I think, the Fairy Whispering podcast. And then that's where I found you, and that's where I found your podcast. And so it's almost done like this full circle.
And then now you're channeling Grimble Grumble into one of your pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. How crazy is that?
There's the answer you need, hopefully, about what you experienced that day.
Yeah, it was so weird. And I haven't really told anyone. I told a couple of people after a few drinks, and then I just felt silly when I told them. But I didn't give them the full story with the bird and everything. That just all together, it kind of, yeah.
The bird, the deer, and then that sensation, and the post story that you just told about discovering Claire's wonderful show. Shout out to the Fairy Whispering podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, Claire.
Yeah.
And actually, you know, Claire reached out to me to invite me to come on her show. So double shout out to Claire.
Ah, cool.
And actually, there's kind of like an interesting sort of thing there that I'll add too, because I originally was sort of the same way, and I wanted to tell somebody or figure out about my experience through podcasting. It's kind of a weird mix for me because I saw my fairy first in 2019, and then about 3.5 years later, I did see my Sasquatch, which I talk about in Danielle's episode. So I did originally find a podcast I really liked called Sasquatch Chronicles from Wes Germer. But when I reached out to Joe Hickey Hall from the Fairy Modern Fairy Sightings podcast, she declined to have me on. And
okay.
It's really interesting because when she declined to have me on, I felt first, and I want to just say, she's just busy, which is the reason why. I no animosity or hurt feelings towards Joe Hickey Hall, and I know she probably lurks around and listens to this show. So, hi, Joe. But she did sort of say no, and then I knew of Claire's podcast, but I felt like, well, the main lady doing this said no. I probably shouldn't waste Claire's time, and I never reached out to Claire instead after getting told no by Joe Hickey Hall because I felt kind of shut down, you know, and I was like, just like you felt like maybe my story's silly and I shouldn't do it. But then I was like, because Joe Hickey Hall said no is why I actually started this show. It was the kind of the final thing where I was like,
oh, so it turned out to be a good thing.
It did. She was actually, in her probably completely unbeknownst way, doing the Fae thing, which is working in that mysterious, unknowable way until after the fact. So here's Joe Hickey Hall, arguably, you know, the person doing this work, says no to me. Look what my show's become since. She probably should have had me on, right? But if she hadn't said no, then there would be no Fascinating Fae. Because I felt kind of like, I'm not a lady. I'm not a chick. I'm a straight white dude. Where can I talk about this the way I want to and be welcome? And I felt not exactly welcome by that space. Probably for my own reasons as a white straight dude, like I just keep saying. But you get it? Like I was like, I don't belong in fairy.
Yeah.
So I have to start Fascinating Fae to get answers because I don't believe in folklore. I don't think anything I find basically on the internet or Reddit is satisfying enough. It doesn't feel detail rich enough. There's no emotion behind these retellings on Reddit. There's really nothing. You know what I mean? Like when you read, this could just be someone practicing their creative writing skills for all I fucking know, right? Until I hear someone's voice, until I hear someone's voice telling me about a gnome, like until I hear Emma's voice, that astonishment, or Albert, you know?
That's spot on. Because I was also looking on Reddit. I started off looking for fairy encounters, and the stories I couldn't tell, if it was real or not. And that's when I went to look at podcasts.
We're together here as equals in this conversation. So really, I might be interviewing you and stuff, but remember, I reached out because I'm trying to talk to other people that I think are where I'm at, and I've really learned quite quickly that if someone's dedicating their life to making fairy art, I should probably talk to them. And so,
Yeah. And the way that I couldn't get a job doing normal stuff, and it made me do my fairy art. You couldn't get on one podcast, so it made you do your own. It's like being pushed onto that path.
yeah, if I'm completely honest in this moment, which I don't like to be because I don't like to wrestle with this at all in relation to this show. I wonder to what degree my police assault is even off.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I know.
Wasn't that mentioned in the last
More
episode?
than one
was that
person
sometimes,
is hinting at it to me who's an objective
Yeah.
listener and friend. And
Yeah.
I mean, if I think about the fact that I'm trying to suggest that the cop that showed up when I started Katie's episode was a Fae. Anyway, it's too much to pick apart at times, but the long trajectory of why this show exists starts way back at that assault, my incapacitation and need for a useful thing to do with my, like I'll just be completely honest. I'm in a lot of pain, and after I've worked out and done my physio and fed myself and cleaned my apartment, I can either just sit there and watch media. I can only go for so many walks. I mean, I have like open ulcers on my feet and spinal damage. And so there's like a point at which I'm just maxed out physically, but I'm still awake and my brain is still working every single day. And that was my life for 2.5 years, gradually getting better and better to the point where now the boredom, because, you know, for a while I was just like so laid up that I would just pass out after doing those basic things. And that was all I could do.
Yeah, be exhausted.
Yeah. But once I got capacity to the point where I actually had like quote unquote free time, it became its own kind of painful experience to have free time and nothing useful to do, or not, like, because I can't do much, but I can talk and I saw a fairy. And so, you know, and I also, in part because I had gone through this long journey of rediscovering what it even means to be James after having my ass handed to me by Constable Mike Woods, I had to look inside at the things in myself that I might be able to look to get myself out of this place that I was in. I wasn't selling pot anymore. Those businesses are long gone. That battle's over. Canada legalized it. I won, whatever, you know. I couldn't get in my boat anymore. I was searching and searching for something possible that I could do that made me feel close to even 1/10 of the kind of excitement and enjoyment I was getting out of my life, right? I have a fucking huge art boat and millions of dollars. And now I'm like, can barely walk and I'm basically housebound. And so when you really look at it objectively from not me telling the story, and then you think about Fascinating Fae and what's happening with the show, it can be kind of weird. And that's why, just to really let everybody know who might have listened to that episode where I said I'm shutting her down, because in part, here's what's going on. The Fae are definitely participating in episodes and infesting my machine. They're not only real in my speculation and one-time observation, they're real across all instances of this show, and not the least of which I really do believe is your story leading you and me and my experience leading us together to now have this conversation. And the fact that you're channeling a gnome into your work is no surprise given everything we've talked about. I do see it as all connected, like you said earlier. I do think you're right. I don't think that that's a hopeful or wishful observation as a fan. I think you're a contemporary in your ability to actually piece this all together. This is what's going on. It's real. It's very real.
Yeah, wow. I love that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's too cool. And what is it all about? Is there some sort of awakening of the fairy tribe happening or some shit? I don't really fucking know. I'm not a guru.
Yeah.
I don't belong talking like that. But what I experience makes me. It does truly. It does bring me a lot of like humility, because I do not know what's going on here. You know, I don't. I'm guessing. I feel like maybe I add value to the narrative. Maybe I don't. but it would appear that whatever I am saying or whatever my efforts are doing are enjoyed by the Fae on some level. I feel like that's obvious. And,
yeah,
you know,
definitely.
when you talk about like what's a small thing, I mean, like here's an example that I'll give you, and I do think that what you told me is a real fairy encounter, and I want to ask you some questions about it in a second, but we're kind of talking about it in a real direct way here because of the way you pointed about how it's brought us into connection here today. You know, I think that like basically when it comes to this subject matter, Liz from Australia, who I spoke to in my free therapy session, sort of was gently saying back to me, James, you already know, you know, and because I kept doing the same thing you're talking about, which is sort of trying to dismiss it, trying to rationalize it off, and feeling afraid to talk about it. With all of the big stuff that I'm privileged enough to be able to talk about, even that I'm still having a hard time saying to anybody. So I can truly relate to and give empathy to your hesitation to talk about a small thing, even to a group of trusted friends who just did a fairy meditation. It's interesting how like, and this is not to do like a contrast for any reason other than just for the sake of forwarding this conversation. Emma, when you listen to her, she's more like, oh yeah, this stuff's totally real. Like, yeah, I'm used to it, you know? And that,
that's amazing.
And that is honestly in part why that moment happened in her episode, because I just couldn't get over the fact that this chick is like, oh yeah, my cards are moved. Cool. Okay, well, let's talk about your episode now. I'm like, what? I just kept wanting to go back to the fucking cards. You know what I mean? Like, no offense, Emma, but it was like it's like Danielle when my glasses move. She's just like, ha ha ha, all the better to see you with. Who are these women that just know about this stuff, don't mind, totally get it, are like, you know, Victoria, she's like sitting down and having a fucking cup of tea with the troll pretty much. You know what I mean? Like it's weird to me that that's a thing, because I'm also super hesitant like you are, but the interconnectivity of the show is blending all of these viewpoints together if you really look at it. And what's happening is we're all getting to understand it better collectively, I hope. My own journey of confusion and fascination is probably reflected in the minds of just about everybody, because how could it not be? If someone actually knows about this stuff, step forward and fucking help us all relax, you know? But in the meantime, Becky, please keep making channelings of the Fae. I'll keep making my show, and we'll all keep doing our thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this bird type, birds are very powerful in relation to this discussion, if you haven't noticed. Tell me more about this rare bird. And so I want to make sure I understood. It ran one way in front of the car, crossing the road, and then came back across the other way?
Yeah.
That's truly weird.
So the lyrebird, like, I don't think it's rare. It's just really rare to see them.
I gotcha.
Like, a lot of people hear them. And, like, I've spoken to many people who have been out looking for this bird for, you know, years and years. They'll go out looking for the lyrebird at Lyrebird Falls or whatever. It's really, like, it's on our 10-cent coin, so it's quite a, you know, Australian icon, I guess. I think it's like the New Zealand kiwi. Like, it's an icon, but it's very rare to actually see one because they're so shy. But to have it dart across in the middle of the day, right across the road, and then it just like did a U-turn and ran back again. And I remember having this feeling of it was being playful, which, like I said, I'm so glad I wasn't close enough to hit the damn thing. Like, that just would have ruined my day. But yeah, it was just really bizarre. I remember being really like surprised afterwards, like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. Wait till I tell the girls about this, you know. Yeah, it was just bizarre. It was really, really weird.
They don't. I mean, I'm going through a mental catalog in my head of every animal roadside crossing ever that I've ever experienced. And I can't think of a single time where it's run one way across the road and then back the other way.
Yeah. Like it would have seen the car. Surely that would have scared it to not come back, but it did. And actually, speaking of birds, can I sidestep for a bit?
Please do.
When my husband and I got married, so this would have been about 9 years ago now, we were in the same area. We were in the Dandenong Ranges, and right when we were saying our vows, two kookaburras came down and sat right next to us and in front of everyone, and we all stopped and looked at these two kookaburras, like not giving a shit what was going on, just chattering away to each other. It was another like mind-blowing bird thing. And afterwards everyone's like, who was that? What did that symbolize? What was going on there? Yeah, sorry, that memory just came back for a second.
That's so wild to me, Becky, because I'm currently working on an episode about DK, my friend whose music finishes all these episodes. Where I can't ruin it, but it's obvious he shows up during a wedding and lands. I mean, not him, but as a animal. I'll just say I don't want to ruin the episode, but it's so close to what you're describing in the kookaburra thing. We have a bird here called the kingfisher, which is a very small North American kookaburra, effectively. They have the same style call. They laugh at you. Yeah. They have aerial.
I love that.
They have these ones are really small, and they're called kingfishers because they perch in trees and then dive bomb into pools of water.
Yeah, they're blue, aren't they? Are they blue?
Yeah, they're blue. They're incredible.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Yeah.
Among the other treats I have out this condo window is there's quite a few kingfishers, and they do aerial dogfights for territory where they rattle away and that laugh at each other at high speed and bomb through the trees. They're something else. And so, when you're talking about all of that, I'm just curious. I know it's kind of a Joe Hickey Hall question that I've stolen from her playbook, but it's a good one. What did you feel emotionally, in connection with all three of these events, the deer, the lyrebird, and this fairy fluttering past your ear, which is, I'm sure, what it was?
Well, the bird, it felt like it was being playful or it was being cheeky. It was like, look at me, here I am, in and out. The deer was really beautiful, and I'm positive like it was in a distance, but it was looking right at us as if to say, I'm watching you, but in a friendly manner. And then when I felt something fly past my ear, that was just a surprise, but it was this sort of this not unsettling like in a bad way, but that wasn't what I thought it was. What is that? Where is it? That left me really confused, but in a good way. It was all like happy. There was nothing bad or dark about it. It was, I don't know, it was just really weird. It stuck with me all day. In fact, all those experiences, like I remember that whole day now, and it was a year ago.
Also very interesting that it's around a year ago in its own way. I do think that the circular nature of time as it relates to this particular topic is in and of itself fascinating. And I know that it might take a second listen, but I'm really stuck on the fact that you are all of a sudden channeling a gnome at the, I'm at the place where I think Grimble Grumble has seen through time, and this is all perhaps already happened, and that a lot of the events in my life are potentially Fae related, and that's sickening to think about because I like to think of myself as in control of my own destiny, truly. But I just don't know anymore, and that's okay. It's okay. I have to get okay with that to keep going down this podcast creation journey, I guess. So so it shall be. Becky, those are pretty much the only questions, other than just to comment that, absent maybe like physically seeing it, everything you're talking about reminds me a lot of my experience. Not the least of which is just, what was that? Like, there's something that isn't right when it's a real Fae experience that you just can't equate, relate to, or otherwise associate with normal stuff. I even went so far as to go, did a hummingbird have a dragon have a lightning bug in its mouth?
Yeah, you try and make sense of it. Yeah.
But you know the difference in most sensations as a human being. You really do. Like, it's a kind of one of those unfortunate things about being an adult human is you're pretty much tapped out on what new experiences are. And so when a new experience really does happen, it sticks with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that can be true of a young childhood memory or an adult memory. Listen more closely, everybody who listens to this show, to the little cues, because here's also something I'll add and offer this to you as maybe a thought. Not that I know any of this stuff. I keep wanting to remind myself and the audience of that as much as possible. I'm just a guy who saw a fairy. You know, it sounds to me like, although there's so many elements of your life that are clearly indicating the Fae presence, there's that constructive doubt that you still possess. And that's refreshing and helpful to me, because I feel like I'm jumping off the deep end on this stuff, right? And I'm not coming into it as a full-time fairy artist like yourself. So it's helpful to me to hear people who I view externally as way more deeply into this as having the same degree of difficulty accepting what their own real experiences are as myself. So thank you for that. That is a gift to me as much as anything.
Oh, you're welcome.
Was there any other storytelling that you might want to move forward with? It's okay if not. I wasn't sure if you had more than one story or not. I just thought I'd ask.
That was sort of the main one. There was sort of two possible fairy gifts, and one I wanted to mention because it sounds like it's exactly what happened to Brett, who was on your show, with the cat skull. Although admittedly I didn't find it. It was my husband, and he was over the back fence of our house, like at the back, and he found a perfect cat skull, and he knew straight away that I would love it because I like weird stuff. And so he's brought it in, and as soon as Brett was talking about the cat skull being a fairy gift, it sort of made me think, oh, that's exactly what happened to us. But it was him that found it. But unfortunately mine, it had a little bit of fur on it, and so I put it in the garden to naturally decay off, and our beautiful big silly dog got it. So now I have two pieces of cat skull. But I thought that was really interesting because there was nothing else around. We'd been out there before and never seen any bones or anything, and here's this perfect cat skull. So that was interesting.
That's so interesting that the Fae are gifting cat skulls to macabre fairy artists.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they know what we like. Yeah.
Wait till I send you the link I dug up and sent to Brett about the meaning of a cat skull gift from the Fae. It'll blow your absolute mind.
Please do. That sounds really awesome.
I'll add that to the show notes for the audience as well. When I sent it to Brett, because after her episode, I was like, what was with that cat skull? Because I just did, here's the thing, people think they're going to come on and tell me something little, like, oh, I found a cat skull, which admittedly, to go back to what I just said, you could probably say that Misty's episode was a girl saw a rose one time and then just be bored as all hell, right? But I've learned, because I'm swimming in this full time, that this little stuff, quote unquote little stuff, like the Fae, it's weird. Alex from the Fairy Finder episode says he kind of thinks that the Fae give you these little tests almost, right? And like maybe 99 people are going to find a cat skull and go, ooh, fuck, gross.
Yeah, not me.
Not you, not you. So then does that mean that the cat skull is a gift for you? Yes. I know that isn't good science. I know that isn't good anything, but it's perfect Fae logic and truth. And so what I guess I struggle with sometimes, and you are very gracious to say, like, you don't think, you know, your stories are big enough or whatever. But I want to just seize upon you offering that up in a way that will hopefully help other people listening. They're all important, all of these things. You know, like, like, did you one time talk to a bug and it did something like William? You know what I mean? Like, there's
no, but I talk to them now. Or I really want a butterfly to look at me like that.
Do I ever? I talk to every butterfly that comes close to me. But going back to this kind of Alex point that I think I steered away from a little too quickly before I made it, was that, you know, his thing is like, oh, I flipped over a moth, right? But then boom, butterflies explode around him. Any other person not as sensitive and aware of what the truth is as Alex would not be able to come on my show in a straight face and tell me that story.
Yeah, that's true.
But that episode not only is great, Alex is a huge friend of the show and someone I'm really happy to have brought on and have around. And, you know, I think that what he's doing over there at the Fascinating Fae fan family is just getting started. So, Alex, thanks again for being here. And again, thanks for everybody who is willing to go with what's true in their feelings and think that that's enough to come forward, like Misty and others that otherwise might have seemingly smaller, quote unquote, smaller stories. Because what I guess I'm itching at or trying to scratch at is that the Fae are, in my opinion now, full-time trying to get everyone's attention always. I think they are looking, like in Monsters Inc., the movie almost, for the people they can reach. In Monsters Inc., you know, they're trying to reach the ones that they can scare the most because they get all that scare juice off them, whatever. But to you know, kind of repurpose the analogy to make it more Fae, I think the Fae are literally, the second they see a open, sensitive person that they might be able to reach and work with, they start. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there.
And I think it might be like, oh, I returned a screw. And then it goes like, did you notice that? And if you did, and you say thank you, then the next thing you know, it's like full-blown Emma's cards, because Emma's the conduit for that, not me, right? It's like Grimble Grumble can get through the computer into Emma's house and do that with Emma's cards because Emma is fully not resisting the truth of it all. And you can tell that when you listen to her, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, like, there's a wedging, you know what I mean when I say a wedging? They're wedging their way into everyone's hearts and minds. And I do think if you objectively look back on many of your life experiences through the lens of some of the narratives that you see unfolding here in the show, every single person I truly believe could come on this show. I actually think I could probably stop just about anybody on the street if I made them feel comfortable enough and I asked them, what are the weird, serendipitous, seemingly interconnected moments in your life that you can't stop thinking about or ever forget? What are they? And everyone will have them.
Yeah.
Because that's what Earth really is. It's a big, like Emma says, she thinks we're all connected somehow, like through energy or something, you know. And I don't know what it is, but there's too many weird synchronicities, Becky. And tonight is another example of them. The cat skull is part of that, like, interlinking narrative that you touch on that you could draw if you pull out the spreadsheet and listen to enough of these episodes. And so, and included in that, I really should say, is listening to most of Joe Hickey's Hall work and Claire's as well. All the ones that focus on encounters that are part of their catalog is what I mean to say when I say most of them. And you'd get a real clear picture on a lot of levels. That's what I really think. Now, was there any other? Because I know you said a couple, and you said Cat Skull, but maybe not the final one.
There was one more, which happened at the start of the year. I went away just for a few nights with my family, just husband and kids. And we were staying a few nights at this place where there was this beautiful little garden. And straight away I called it like the fairy garden. There was ivy, and there was moss, and there was mossy rocks, and there was this beautiful shady tree. And whenever I needed some quiet time, I'd sort of sit there and have my smoke when I was smoking. And that was my fairy tree. And I would sit there and I'd sort of look at the beautiful plants and whatever. And it was away from all the hustle and bustle. And so every day, a few times a day, I would go and have this quiet time. I'd sit on the grass. And then it was the last day we were there, and I went and sat in the same spot. And just after I finished my smoke, I looked down, and there's this bird claw. And again, most people might think ill gross, but for me, I was just, a gift. I've been given a gift. And so, of course, I took it home, and I've got it. But it was weird because I sat there every day, several times a day. I never saw it. I never stood on it. But the last day there it was right next to me where I was sitting. And it was one of those really weird moments of this just came out of nowhere. I think it's meant for me. And it's now in my collection of weird things on the shelf.
I'm oddly head to toe goosebumps more than any other moment in your storytelling tonight about this one little bird claw.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was probably the most insignificant of all. I don't know.
Again, and I don't want to sound like too much of a broken record, but what you feel is often the truth about things. And learning to trust that is a really difficult process that even I struggle with. But the more you give into what you feel being probably the guide, I think the bigger the communication wedge gets is kind of how I think it goes. I hope that tonight, after talking with me, your own belief and my own continue to double down on this subject matter. I hope that for both of us, because I'm getting a lot out of figuring this out to be true. I truly got to say, I mean, I was on the fence about even half of the stuff that I have experienced and half the episodes I published up until Emma's experience with those cards. It was like, is everything I've been sort of guessing about actually true? And this is my point that I'm actually trying to say. I've known it all along, emotion inside, as it's happening, as the goosebumps are hitting,
Sometimes you need that validation. And I think like with Emma and the cards and those numbers, that was, for you guys, that would have been really validating. You can't make that shit up.
You can't make that shit up. And that episode is not validating for Emma and I. It's validating for all 37 guests that have come on the show.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yes, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's validating for the whole trajectory of this project from me deciding to start it, honestly. And that is like a crescendo moment in the orchestral piece that the Fae have been composing and making us all play for them.
Yeah, wow.
They're standing there with the conductor stick, basically.
I might have one more story actually, but I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you want to include this, because I'm pretty sure it was more spirit related than fairy, but I don't know.
Same.
Same.
Yeah, they're all the
All right.
same. I don't know. Let's hear it. I mean,
Well, you're right. So this is the one thing that for me was 110% validating. If I ever start to think, oh, is this real or isn't it? I think back to this one moment when I was about 14, I think. I was really young. I was with some psychic mediums at the time, so that's why I tend to think it was a spirit. But we were in circle and doing a meditation, the first time I'd ever learnt about meditation or anything. And they were seeing spirits and describing them. And I was sitting there and I'm squinting at the wall and I'm like, I can't see anything. And they're like, no, it's in your mind, it's in your third eye. And I'm like, I can't, it's not like for me, that's just my imagination. That's not real enough for me. Anyway, so they're doing all this, and I remember sitting there, I was on the floor and I kind of leant against the couch, and then it felt like my ear blocked. Okay, this is going to sound really weird. It felt like someone blew air into my ear and my head was filling with like a wind or something. I could feel it coming in and filling up my head. And it gave me a fright. And so I kind of moved and I looked and I didn't say a damn word. And then one of the women said to me, is he scaring you? And I just looked at her and kind of nodded. And she said, it's okay, he won't do it again. And for me, any time I think, oh, am I going too woo-woo? Is this all in my head? I think back to that moment and I'm like, I don't care if anyone believes me, that happened. That was literally mind-blowing. Blew air into my mind.
imagine my gobsmacked face, to steal the line from Jem, when the glasses moved off my fucking table while I'm talking to Danielle.
Yes.
And then imagine my even more gobsmacked face as I literally, with shaking hands, click save after talking with Emma, jump off of my, not literally because I can barely move, jump off of my workstation, hands in the air. I fucking told everybody they move shit in your fucking house. I'm out on my deck, you basically, screaming like a madman to no one. Fairies move shit, fairies move shit. I fucking knew it. I got it on fucking audio. Validations abound in this conversation with you tonight, my friend. And, Becky, I really appreciate everything you've been willing to share, because I think it's all truly valuable and truly connected, and I mean that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the space. I don't think I've told anybody all of those things and then have it received so well. I'm not crazy. It's really, I don't know, enlightening. It makes me really want to, I don't know, say hello to a lot more bugs, and you really start to, pay attention to the small things. It's not nothing anymore. I don't know. It's crazy.
That's honestly a really beautiful set of words that just left your mouth. Thank you for sharing that with me and with everybody listening. Can I ask you some of my standard Fascinating Fae wrap-up questions as we go to move towards the end of this conversation here today?
Yeah, of course.
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, I just gotta recap briefly by saying, beautiful conversation. I really think this is going to make for a great episode, and I'm really appreciative of your time and the fact that, you're a person listening to what I'm doing all the way in Australia. That is so cool to me. I don't even know really how to properly say thanks, other than just to say, honestly, thanks. Thanks a lot. I'm laid up making this show, and it's becoming like the best thing that ever happened to me. Go figure. So
that's awesome. You're most welcome.
Thanks for caring about what I'm doing. I really feel your comments, and I feel your genuine fascination with this subject matter too. So I just feel like we're all of us, riding this roller coaster with me, are becoming friends, because we're all going to puke at the end of the roller coaster ride in each other's faces anyway. So we might as well get to know each other. But what I do like to ask people who come on the show, and I do like to say, of course, that there is no right answer or wrong answer here. We've talked, speculatively about what these fae may or may not be in sort of, roundabout ways here tonight, but I don't think I've really had a chance to hear a complete thought with no interruptions, just about your thoughts and feelings on this particular question. The question, I'm sure you know, because you are a listener of the show, goes a little like this. What do you think fairies are, Becky?
Well, I think, like a lot of others have said, I think that they're in another dimension, on another plane, on top of ours, where we, and our little, human brains can't quite comprehend, or even if we were told or shown, it's too much for us to really understand what's going on. But I was actually thinking, could I tell you a theory I had when I was a kid? And that was that when we draw something or think of something new in our minds, it makes it a reality somewhere. Almost like the Willy Wonka quote of a world of pure imagination. Because I used to think that if I drew something and I created a character, that it would really be alive somewhere in another realm. So I don't know, maybe that's what's going on. Who knows? I don't know.
I think that that's a really valid answer, actually. And I think that mechanism you're describing in a theory from childhood goes both ways. I think, as you touched on earlier in this episode, referencing a book about ideas essentially coming from like a pool.
Big magic.
Yeah. So I think it does work both ways. I think that, and I offer this constructively maybe for the first time here, though I've been alluding to it throughout this podcast series. If you really ask me, how did I change my life from totally disabled, chronic pain, like literally $170,000 in debt, waiting for insurance settlement person, to the person you hear me reflecting myself as today, I just imagined myself out of it.
Yes, that's a whole other layer to it, like visualizing things and making them a reality, which I hear about a lot. What do they call it? Manifestation, things like that.
Yeah, some people are going to tell you, buy a book, learn how to manifest all your wildest dreams and riches and the woman of your dreams and everything like that. I hate that shit. I think it's totally true because I actually did it.
Yeah. I think it's also a part of like if you really imagine it, it's like with spell work with people that do that kind of thing, which I might dabble in. It's that focus as well. Like people say, you could just make a wish and expect it to happen, but it doesn't happen. But if you really focus on that and it becomes a part of your mind all the time, you're going to drive yourself towards that outcome. But that's also why they say be careful what you wish for, because you don't always know how you're going to get there. But I don't know. Another theory. I'm very open-minded. Is it real? Isn't it? I don't know.
I appreciate your pragmatic, skeptical, balanced approach to what I think we just touched on being absolutely the truth of everything going on here. There's very little real, and most of it is a reflection of a type of spiritual journey process. All of it. And I think that this is why so many magical things are possible, because everything is in effect a type of interconnected, multi-dimensional spirit soup.
Spirit soup, I like that.
Yeah. Quantum soup, spirit soup, fae soup. You're going to need a big spoon and an open mind to take a swallow of it either way. So
Yeah. Oh, even when you look at like the reality of we're on, I always think back to we're on a planet which is like a speck of dust flying through space, mid-explosion. Like, the world is a crazy place.
it is the most magical thing to find yourself waking up in every single morning.
Yeah.
It is like, even if you're just a nihilistic, like, oh, just random fucking chance, blah, blah, blah. Even that is so astonishing that, go ahead, be nihilistic. No matter which way you slice this thing up, you're alive. Reality is colorful. It is textured. It is cold. It's hot. It has music in it that makes you cry. It has people in it that make you want to kiss them. There's people in it that make you want to punch them. It is animals in it that will blow your fucking mind just to look at for 5 minutes. It's everything and all of that. And if you allow the experience of it to really fully live within you, and the Fae thing is really trying to bring everybody closer to experiencing what's actually here. Right? Because it's a planet full of humans and interdimensionals of every imaginable shape, size, and fucking manner.
Yeah. It can't just be us.
It's no chance. I think Earth is an oasis in space-time for, like, there's probably countless dimensions that have managed to take hold here because there's something going on in this little spot in space-time that, you know, like, if we're allowing for a whole dimension that Fae live in, it's probably no different than the dimension we live in. It probably just feels exactly the same over there to them as it feels to us over here.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think if you got over there somehow, you'd be able to grab their fucking glasses too. That's what I think. It just makes total sense. Like, it just, when you really look at it, like, does that make sense? Then yeah, you could probably go and knock over their Lego off their TV before going on one of their podcast episodes too, if you needed to.
Maybe we do. And they're like, what the fuck was that?
It would be identical, and we would be snickering humans going, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to do some brief housekeeping. Think about your last words here for a moment. Is that cool with you?
Of course.
Okay. Well, tonight, everybody, you've been listening to Fascinating Fae. I'm your host, Jim. And if you'd like to come on the show and have a conversation with me, you can do that by sending me an email to encounters@fascinatingfae.com, or really shoot me a DM on Instagram, Facebook, etc. at Fascinating Fae for most of those socials. The website's pretty up to date these days. There's good information there. We're going to throw some links up to Menagerie of Magic and, of course, you know, some of the links referenced here in the show tonight. So please hop on over to fascinatingfae.com and just take a look at this additional information, which will enhance these episodes. I guess I just do want to finish by saying, you know, which is super important to all of these episodes, on behalf of all of the human and non-human listeners tuning into Fascinating Fae tonight, a really big thanks to Becky B from Australia for coming on the show. Becky, I really appreciate you being here with me tonight. Thanks a lot.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for reaching out. It's been fun. It's been really good.
In my humble opinion, as host of Fascinating Fae, whatever that is worth, you belong in the club with the Bretts and the Danielles and the other incredible women like Jem and Liz that are pioneering through this work on this subject matter. And I really hope that you get a lot out of this when you listen back to it for your own purposes there on your journey of acceptance and leaning into this, because you're doing such cool work. I was somewhat surprised to hear you this pragmatic, but really, truly never displeased at my surprise on any of this stuff. I do think it's so important to hear what everyone really thinks about all of this. And so You've been honest with me, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate all your storytelling, all of your speculation, and just listening to me talk about what I think is going on here as much as you have. Thanks again for all that. And I'll finish both another quick wrap up by saying again, human and non-human listeners abound. Grimble Grumble, thanks for chilling down and making this a low-key about you episode. And thanks again for all that listenership, everybody. And thanks especially on behalf of all those listeners I'm referring to for your amazing time with me here tonight, Becky. Without any more value that I could possibly add or anything left to say here, I'll give you those final words.
Oh, thank you so much again. And it still kind of trips me out how this all came about full circle. It's an honor to be held up high with people like Brett. Oh my God, big fan. And yeah, it's given me a lot to reflect on, and I look forward to listening to the episode when it comes out. So thanks.
There was thunder on the border, lightning in the sky, shined on the horizon of the falling night. A man among disorder, standing in the street. You can see him in your dreams, you can see him in your dreams. And he said, we are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone, I know, we are not alone. If I could see it your way, and they could see it ours, I'd walk right through the doorway and understand the stars. If I could wave to you wandering from a ship that passes by, will I return to the inlet and wipe the water from your eye? And I say, we are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone, I know, we are not alone. Up the river as it winds, and I don't know if I'm deeper in the woods or in the mind. And I come to a meadow where the sun had bleached the grass, and a billion flower petals were smiling as I passed. And they say, we are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone, I know, we are not alone.